Good to have you with us. Let me begin, I guess, by asking you. Great to have you. Let me ask you to respond to the Atlanta mayor, because obviously Atlanta is a very dense population, and she clearly has some big concerns about reopening the places that you would like to open.
Well, Martha, look, the mayor and I have a great relationship. She's working very hard, just like all local elected officials are, to protect their population. I'm doing the same thing. We've worked together on a lot of things. I've heard comments about this issue, and I've certainly had a lot of praise and a lot of criticism, but we're taking a measured step. I would urge people to really look at the guidance that we're going to be putting out the rest of the week. I announced this on Monday so we can have time to educate the public and the business owners that this is just not handing them the keys back to go back to where we were. This is a measured approach with a lot of different requirements and guidance that we're going to be putting out. And I'm very confident of that step. It was done in conjunction with public health officials based on the data that we're seeing in our state and the gateways to the phase one part of the president's plan.
All right. So, we just watched Dr. Deborah Birx, and she was questioned about your plan to reopen on Friday. And she said, that she feels it's incumbent, and I'm paraphrasing, incumbent upon governors such as yourself to be very transparent about the data that you used to make this decision. So can you explain to everyone at home tonight, what is the data that brought you to this conclusion, especially given the fact that deaths are still rising in Georgia? What data did you use?
Well, I think it's important for people to understand how the data comes in. A lot of the data that we're posting today, the testing or the fatality may have happened, 5 or 6 days ago based on the type of reporting that's being done. I mean, look, I spent all weekend working with Dr. Toomey, who's a, great epidemiology, a great public health official, one of the best, I think, in the country. I did not make this decision without her support. We poured over this data. We're looking at all kind of different models. I've had hospital CEOs that I've been in contact with that reached their peak way back on April the 6th. I've spoken to them about the idea of doing some elective surgeries. They were supporting that decision. They support a measured opening, which is what we're doing. It's going to be very limited in scope, basic operations. We're talking about a few businesses that I closed down to help flatten the curve, which we have done in our state. But for us to continue to ask them to do that while they lose everything, quite honestly, there are a lot of civil repercussions of that, mental health issues. We're seeing more patients in our trauma centers in our state because people are just, they're tired of it. And it's a tough balance. And I understand where folks like the mayor and others may agree or disagree. I got some people that are protesting me because I took this step, and I may have others that protest me because I didn't go far enough.
Yeah, I understand.
But what we've been doing, Martha, and I'd like to just explain too, we took measured steps to get to the shelter in place, and now we're taking measured steps to come out of that. This is not a giant leap forward.
Well, explain. Can you tell me what you mean by that? So, for instance, is it in Atlanta? If someone wants to get their nails done or their hair done on Friday or a tattoo or go to a gym, I mean, these are very close contact kinds of businesses that are the first ones on your list. Can you explain why you would start with those kinds of businesses on day one?
Well, those are the ones who are closed. The other businesses in Georgia are still currently opening under the order that I have now, and we're coming down. I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. But you also have to give that fitness owner or that owner in a hair salon the ability to be able to be a partner in this fight that we're in. They're going to have to follow the strict guidelines. I would tell you that I imagine there'll be people in gyms that'll be a lot safer than they would be going to the grocery store or some of the other places of business that are part of the critical infrastructure that's been designated at the federal level. This is going to take some common sense. Our people in our state have learned a lot through this. They have helped us be a solution to the problem, to flatten the curve and to start getting on the other side of this. Our hospital capacity, you have to remember the reason we did this to start with is so we had time to build up hospital capacity. We are having record vacancies in our hospitals right now because we were getting ready for the surge. They are bleeding money, and they need help as well as, our local business owners do.
I understand that.
So we're prepared for, what may come with this, and we're prepared to act. We're ramping up testing. I talked extensively about that in my press conference on Monday. We have almost 3,000 National Guard troops that are cleaning long-term care facilities. They got 10 mobile testing sites so we can go to hot spots, whether it's long-term care, other vulnerable populations in the state.
Yeah.
And them doing this is going to allow our public health officials to do contact tracing, which is another part of the plan that Dr. Birx talked about.
I got a couple questions. I'd love to just get in a couple quickly with you if I can. You've said that businesses have to screen for illnesses. How are they going to do that? So just give the gym example. If someone wants to walk into a gym in Atlanta, and we just heard the mayor doesn't think that Atlanta's ready for this. If I want to go to the gym in Atlanta on Friday, how are they going to screen me?
Well, it's not saying they've got to screen them. These are best practices. They could do temperature screening. They can do the verbal guidelines that all businesses should be giving their employees now, educating them. You do not come to work. The potential for testing now and in the future. So, there's common sense things that people can do. And listen, we're already doing that with businesses in our state. I got heavily criticized for keeping our state parks open and our beaches open, and we've had absolutely no problem with allowing people to go out and get some exercise. They have practiced social distancing. They have behaved themselves.
Yeah.
And in fact, we had people from other states coming to Georgia because they had closed their parks.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of widespread, why we had to close all the parks, I think, is one of the big questions that a lot of Americans have. But I just want to stay with you on this point because, screening. So let's say that the gym decides that they're going to test everybody's temperature when they walk in. But as we all know, there are asymptomatic people who are contagious to every person that they come in contact with potentially. So once you've got a fever, it's already too late. You've already, been 5 days of being someone who can spread that disease. So how are you going to screen these people who want to go to these businesses?
The same could be happening at the grocery store and other places. That's why the fitness owners, I have great confidence in them spreading people out when they're doing a workout, doing this additional sanitation that we've all been, learned how to do now, and taking those precautions with hand sanitation and having the folks working in the facilities wearing masks and other things. And we'll be putting those guidelines out. And listen, if people don't want to go, Martha, they don't have to. If people don't want to open the gym, they don't have to. But when you close somebody's business down and take the livelihood of that individual and those employees, and they are literally at the face of losing everything, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think they're going to do the right thing, and we're going to continue to focus on testing and contact tracing and all the other things.
Everybody in this country is going to be watching your state because you're one of the most aggressive and the earliest in this process. And you've got, mayors in Albany and mayors in Atlanta who are very much against this. So you guys are almost going to be, and I hope that you are making the right decision and that it keeps people healthy.
Yeah. Well, I would argue if you take out Albany out of the situation right now, our state is a much different place. Because of a person going to a funeral a month and a half ago when people didn't know that was not a good thing to do, Albany's had more deaths, I'm pretty sure in saying this, than Atlanta has. So, you have to be relative with the data that you're looking at. I'm looking at it every day, every hour of every day. And I know in Albany, their hospital down there is now taking patients from other areas. So that tells you we're in a good space down there because we reacted quickly to a really bad situation, and we're prepared to continue to do that